Okay, welcome everybody back with episode 35 of Junior Resource Investing. My name is Matthew. Standard disclaimer as always, right? Not financial advice, entertainment purposes only. Please check YouTube notes below for the full thing. I have an update episode here from Dolly Varden. Dolly Varden, I was just joking with Shawn here that an old friend of the show. They were my first ever episode, so it's good to have you back. But update episode from Dolly Varden. Dolly Varden is a high-grade, tightly held gold-silver company developing their Kitsault Valley project in BC's Golden Triangle. As I mentioned, there is an introductory episode. If you're looking, it's a little bit dated at this point, but this time last year, July 2022 would have been episode 1 for me if you're looking for a catch-up. But yeah, CEO Shawn Khunkhun is with me today. Shawn, it is good to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. And what better way to celebrate your 1-year anniversary than having your first guest on?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. No, and I do appreciate your time here again. So this will be just as I said, an update episode. People will probably be familiar with your story. So I thought we could just maybe sit down here for 20 minutes and you can tell me maybe just a brief 2022 recap. And then maybe we can talk about, you're just nicely getting started in the last month or so in your 2023 drill plans. And maybe you can tell us about what we might expect for, the last 12 months recap and then the next 12 months upcoming in terms of plans for people to look forward to. So why don't we start out with, just Shawn, 2022, 37,000 meters drilled just north of that, I believe. 4 drills by the end. Always a good sign when drills get added to a project. You were going after a few targets, but mostly your Homestake Ridge and your Wolf targets ended up being kind of the attention grabbers of that year. Maybe why don't you explain what your drill season or your drill campaign last year did for your Kitsault Valley story?
I'm going to start a little earlier than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, you mentioned 2022 recap. So Dolly Varden transformed in the first half of the year through the acquisition of Homestake Ridge. So, we had the original namesake Dolly mine, past producing big Torbert deposit, North Star, Wolf, and we married those 4 deposits, which were in Dolly Varden Silver Corporation, and we brought in Homestake. So we tripled the resource, we brought in a large high-grade gold component, and really we brought the project to a size and scale that's now making it quite attractive. The market celebrated the acquisition. It's one of the few times where the acquiring company went up in value, which really proved how accretive the transaction was. What it also proves that is the percentage that voted for the acquisition. We had close to a 99% in favor when we held our special meeting. And then we also, on the back of it, we financed, and we had a very successful, financing year. We raised a total of $40 million. We've yet to do a down round since I've taken over the company. And the fact that 25% of that money came from Hecla Mining is a strong endorsement of the whole spirit of the acquisition, et cetera. But, that's in the past. What I'm going to celebrate from the drilling program, the 37,000 meters, which started as a 30,000 meter program where we brought in more rigs, we brought in more meters. And what I really celebrate there is we did it all, and we ended up drilling 2,000 more meters than we had budgeted, because we went from 30 to 35. We ended up doing 37, and we did it all for $1.5 million less than what we budgeted for. So we came in under budget, and it was the best drill program in the company's history. 2 big highlights. We drilled the best drill hole that was ever drilled on the property, and that was a Wolf drill hole. It was hole 329. We hit approximately 1,500 grams of silver over approximately 16 meters. So sensational. And within that, there was like a 24-kilo hit, highest grade ever found on the property. And what was really cool about that is, Wolf is, we were hitting it from the southwest. That new hole was to the northeast. So it was, we're having all this success stepping out, these 200-meter step outs. We doubled the strike length, but this big hole came off to the northeast. Anyway, so that was at Wolf. Now, the other thing we had last year is the best hole drilled in the Golden Triangle. So, looking at the Golden Triangle, we have the steepest conferences. We've got Pretium's, which is now Newcrest or now Newmont's Bruce Jack. We've got Skeena's SK Creek. We've got Ascot's Premier. We got some of the greatest historic gold mines on the planet that are being reawakening and in production in the case of Bruce Jack. We had the best gold in the Golden Triangle. We hit 46 grams of gold over 25 meters, which was the best hole in the triangle in 2022. So it was a phenomenal year. It was so good that we didn't even really focus on the fact that we had a 200-meter step-out hit at Homestake Silver. But it wasn't just about Wolf. It wasn't just about Homestake. And you know what? We had big numbers out of Torbrit. So we've got the big silver mine on the property, the one that produced 20 million ounces, and we still have 35 million ounces left intact. We had a huge hit at Kitsault there, a couple of big boomers. So we really had 4 areas on the property that were screaming. And, it's a trend. So lots of love with the drilling. And then what was the cherry on top of the year is all the money we spent last year we replaced in December when we put up, I think it was about a $22 million financing. So when we started putting out those monster drill results, going into the end of the year and then continuing to report into December, January, even February, the stock went up to $1.24 because for investors who were celebrating the drill results, there was only one way to get Dolly Varden. It wasn't through an equity offering. It was in the open market. So at the time where so many of my peers are struggling, we are having huge success operationally, which is driving the share price. And it's all on the back of us growing mineral inventory through acquisitions and drilling. So I'm happy to report today we've got 20 and a half. Yeah. So Matthew, the problem is you get me talking and I'm not going to. But the problem, and actually one of the beauties today is we've got 20.5 million in the treasury as of this moment. So 20.5 million in cash. I've got 4 rigs that are turning, a 5th at site. And listen to this, Matthew. Okay. We're a third through the drill program. But we're only a quarter through the budget. So it's I'm smiling because I've got the best team in the business. And just when I thought, hey, how are they gonna outdo what they did last year? Operationally things are just going really, really well.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, and I think I really appreciate it's hard not to get excited talking about your project, right? I mean, I think there's, you outlined, very succinctly all the reasons why I circled you guys in my own kind of like investor playlist as well, right? I mean, super high grade, clear path to shareholder payout with Hecla or within the right area. You have these world-class grades as you talked about, and I'll make sure I bring up here for people. I mean, just like headline after headline of just world-leading grade, but then you're in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We don't have to chase you down into maybe some more dangerous jurisdictions or less predictable ones, but you're tier 1 jurisdiction. I mean, 140 million just shy of silver ounces INI, just shy of 2 million INI gold. I mean, lots and lots of short-term shareholder boosts in this form of like expecting more positive assays here, but then also more kind of like truly value creative moments where you have, like an updated MRE coming out again soon, updated PEA sometime in the near future potentially as well. So I think there's kind of something for everybody here, right? And this is why you hit my sweet spot. You've got strong developing project, but also lots and lots of meat left on the bone in terms of exploration. So no, it's an exciting project, absolutely. Maybe I want to talk about. So I mean, last time we spoke, it was Wolf Zone kind of was one of the focuses, and so maybe I just wanted to give you a chance to give some kudos to. I remember at the time you talking about Amanda Bennett was your geo's name, who you kind of let her. She was a fresh face to your story, and you kind of let her lead the charge in terms of where to target. And obviously, it was just an unqualified success. I mean, Wolf Zone just keeps getting bigger and bigger, up, down, and down dip, right? So do you want to maybe just kind of give her kudos and just talk about what she's done for you guys?
Well, I got to say the game ball goes to our VPX, Rob Van Egmont. because, managing 50, 60, sometimes 70 people up at a camp, like if we look at this year, we've got 69 people on site right now. And to go from a company that was, the previous company under the previous management, a few thousand meters a year, one rig for maybe a month or two, to 5 drill rigs, 70 people, big program, big money being spent. A lot can go wrong, and things do, happen where you get challenges, right? And the way our VPX, who's really, in a lot of ways, he's the head of the company. I'm here supporting him, making sure he has enough money to drive this company forward. But the reason we're successful is the operational success our VPX is delivering. So it all starts with him. I'm here to support him, and the board is here to support us. And ultimately, Matthew, in addition to Rob, we've got Andrew Hamilton. And Andrew Hamilton, like the big numbers we pulled out of Homestake, the game ball goes to Andrew Hamilton. He has been one of the most welcomed additions to the Dolly Varden team. If memory serves correctly, he came in around October of 2021. And Amanda had joined us in the spring of 2021. And the mandate I'd given her was, you're not allowed to talk to anybody. I want you to go in and spend 2 months going through the 100 years of data and historical information and tell me where we need to go. And she said, you've got to go to Wolf. It's open. It's the next Torbrit. That's what you're looking for here, Shawn. You're looking for the next 50 million ounce silver deposit on this property. Let's go to Wolf. And what's really cool is now that her proof of concept has been validated, and what's really interesting here, if you really hone into the details, the discovery was made below the sedimentary cap, which opens up a big horizon, which was the catalyst for me to want to go out and get Homestake in the first place, because I think there's a connection leading up 5 kilometers up the valley to Homestake Ridge. But what's neat about what her discovery means for 2023 is it means more growth at Wolf, which is going to translate into more ounces in the next 43-101, but maybe it means how many more wolves are on the property. Is Moose the next wolf? How many other wolf-like targets? And there's lots, and I'm not going to name them all here, but Chance, Ace Galena. There's a number of these deposits that we're going to go after. And, we've just got so much work to do. And now we have the team, and through supportive shareholders like Eric Sprott, like Fidelity, like Hecla Mining, and other institutions. There's a long list of, people I talk to, daily, which is, guys like Dennis De Silva or Jason Mayer who have supported us. And there's Matt Zablosky and countless others. That we've got the money and the targets and the team to unlock the value of this project.
Well, I think that the type of investor you attract is a testament to the quality of your project. Absolutely, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things that catches my eye too. Maybe it's a secondary thing because you can't help but be amazed or attracted to the geology of it. But I mean, 7% retail holding. I mean, I think that speaks to how much interest you were kind of creating in the industry, that you get large names. I mean, this is one that you added on. I'll pat myself on the back here. I think you added Rick Rule in September to your roster of investors, and I got you guys by July, so I beat Rick Rule by a couple of months. But yeah, I think it speaks to the quality of your project, Kitsilano Valley, that you have these types of people. You're not desperate for retail dollars to get going here. Like you say, you raised $22 million in December quite easily, and you're finding good places, good homes for this money. So I think it does not surprise me you're finding support in an otherwise difficult 12 months. We had a little bit of a jump there for a couple of months, but it's been a challenging 12 months in the junior sector, and you've managed to buck the trend. So again, that all points to just positive things for Dolly Varden. Absolutely.
But you know what? Retail is so important to us, and it's why I travel all over the world constantly. I'll be in Chicago, Atlanta, down in Boca next week. It is so important to have that I'll tell you one thing I learned going through the great financial crisis in 2008. When the institutions face redemptions and they run for the exits, it's that retail shareholder. It's the guy from Edmonton or the gal from Kelowna, or that investor from Halifax who steps into the market and says, "Shawn, I believe in you, and I believe you don't have any debt, and you've got a nice big deposit, and markets will turn, and when they do, precious metals will be the first to go." It's those investors and it's why if you come to our website and you engage with us, or you follow us on Twitter, it's why we have a toll-free number in 2023. How many companies have a toll-free number? And guess whose phone it rings? It rings mine, right? And that's one of the reasons Rick Rule's behind this is, he wants to know if an investor has a question, who's going to talk to them? It's going to be me. It's the CEO. And nobody knows this project better, and nobody cares about it more. And it's Sprott's behind us. And anyways, listen, it's the other thing that I wanted to say to you is silver's rare. It's getting used more and more. It's getting bought more and more whether it's in investment demand. There's huge demand coming, out of India and China. And I'll tell you, there is a shortage of quality pure silver projects. And the projects that we have in the Kitsault Valley Trend, whether they're the two past producing mines or they're the two deposits we've identified and put resources around, they're pure silver mines. They are 99% silver. And then, we also give our investors a lot of gold exposure through Homestake.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is probably above and beyond the context of this conversation, but I think that, you speak well to the macro, right? Monetary theory and inflation, which, as an aside, with the price of diesel, the way that skyrocketed the last 12 months for you to come in under budget, I think is again deserving of kudos. But, there's so many macro tailwinds for precious metals, and silver, again, kind of transitioning partly into almost an industrial metal with solar panels, et cetera. But there's just so many reasons for people. Maybe it's a bit of a contrarian pick right now, but I think the junior developers like you that, eventually the chickens will come home to roost. Eventually the piper has to get paid. And there are so many reasons for people that are willing to be a little bit patient and to find good projects that are kind of at bargain basement valuations right now in this sector that, I think there's a lot of money to be made for people that are patient and willing to pick winners, or able to pick winners, I suppose.
And listen, you mentioned Rick Rule, so I'm going to go on this Rick Rule theme. But he says, be a contrarian or be a victim, right? And it's very, very hard to really be a contrarian. And I had a banking group in here just a minute ago, and they're telling me that the market sucks and it's tough, and it was a big case of every reason why not to be excited about not just the mining business, but any business with rates going higher and essentially the cost of the future being more expensive. And, they're telling me, they're like, there's not enough development companies or mid-tiers to do the M&A action. And I thought, that's exactly why I'm here. We are going to fill that void. We are going to fill that vacuum. That is the opportunity. You just have to have patience. You have to, forget the next 2 years. Stop looking at this stuff, right? And you'll wake up and you'll have outsized returns.
And it's so much easier, I think you've done a good job of managing investors' money, right? You're financing. There were no warrants, I believe, and it was through flow-through financing, so at an elevated number back in December. And so that's much easier to believe in wholeheartedly when you actually have a CEO of a company that actually does respect shareholder valuation, shareholder money. So again, kudos here. Let me just go for it. You go.
Well, the other thing is, look, we're lucky. You have to work hard to get lucky, but we're really lucky that the Golden Triangle has gone from this place that you probably wouldn't want to go to, from the fact that, you had left-leaning socialist governments running this province for decades, and then not to mention the lack of infrastructure, tough climate. I can give you 100 reasons why, despite being in the mining industry for 20 years, I spent 15 years outside of the Golden Triangle, even though this is my home province. This is my turf. This is my backyard. But everything's changed in that now with Bruce Jack, and I got to say, I give all the credit. There's a guy that, Bob Quartermain, in my eyes, this guy walks on water, right? Like he is, like the power he brought to Bruce Jack, the fact that from discovery to production, like, in a very short period of time, in one of the toughest places in the world, Bob did it. And because of the work that Pretium did and because of Bruce Jack, he's paved the way and made it very easy for me. And the BC government's been supportive. And so my point here in this long-winded monologue here is the fact that Newcrest and now Newmont, so you have the world's largest gold producer. This is what they care about. And so no project is too small now that you've got the infrastructure in the mix. We got a lot of metal in the ground. And what makes us the most special company up there is half that metal is silver. Nobody else can say it. And I'll tell you right now, that's what's going to make Dolly Varden a special company in this coming cycle. And it's why I identified that 4 years ago now. And, I've been running it for 3. And it's why I feel very confident in our future.
Yeah, no, well said. I think you're articulating your story well here for people. If I may drill down just a bit more specific here, just to help people kind of understand this a little bit in terms of the next 12 months. You said you got 20 million in the bank. Like you said, there's a financing that happened. You have a $50 million shelf prospectus that you can kind of to tap into whenever you like. This is to fund 4 rigs up to 42 to 45,000 meters, I guess. And so again, correct me if I'm wrong or expand where you need to, but again, you're just returning back to where you were successful last year. A lot of meters are going to be pursuing Wolf and Homestake Ridge again.
In addition to that, we are taking some swings. Last year, the strategy was, to de-risk, right? It was to grow, and it was to discover, right? And what that means was we just bought something. We just bought Homestake. We took our shareholder capital and, we went out, we made a $50 million acquisition, right? And so I needed to show my shareholders and myself that was the right move. And, I feel very confident that the tons are the same or higher, but the grades is up, right? So I feel like we validated that purchase with the results that we put out last year. And I think we converted a lot of ounces from inferred to indicated and up at Homestake, and the results speak for themselves. And it wasn't just the one barn burner hole. There was, the first hole we released at Homestake, 27 grams of gold and like 460 grams of silver over 9 meters, if memory serves correctly. And so a number of, close to an ounce, or, if you factor in the silver, 10 ounce silver, like it's just if you had one or the other, it would have been a great hole, and you added both. So the de-risk, right, was the de-risk Homestake check. Expand was going out to a place like Kitsault, right, and stepping out of the resource and finding more. And there was a number of results, in the neighborhood of about 10 meters of 400 grams up at the Kitsault vein, which is part of the Torbert resource. So that was successful. And then discover, which is what we did at Wolf, right? We made big discoveries, and we stepped out 200 meters, 100 meters. So essentially, we doubled the strike length. Now this year, the spirit that we're going out is we want to wrap our arms around how big this project is going to be. So we are taking some shots. At the same time, we are building upon the success we had at Wolf, and we're infilling and expanding some of the success we had at Wolf in 2022. And then we are looking to do some of the work at Homestake Silver that we did at Homestake Maine.
Yeah, excellent. So a nice combination of infill and development, and maybe working towards met testing, et cetera. But then also that really exciting step out exploration drilling that of course people are always excited to see or hear about. So maybe
I just want to say one thing. If you go to our website on the corporate presentation, the second to last slide or third to last slide, there's an image of Wolf and Torbrit, and they're about 1.5 kilometers apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if I were to say, what does success look like? How do I measure success this year? One of the measurements is if we're able to connect the dots. There's a slam fault that runs in between. If I can show on the other side of that fault, we're hitting silver veins and silver mineralization, that's going to be thumbs up success for us.
Yeah, so there you go, kind of a called shot or something for people to look out for. And I mean, yeah, you've mentioned, I mean, you have a geological thesis. It's working. It's producing no targets. You have an IP survey that you're currently working, so you're still in that above ground iterative process of creating new targets, which is always exciting, right? You're not just a pure development play. So maybe I'll just ask, right, just a couple of questions left here, try to be respectful of your time. I mean, I think you're not sure if this is on or off air, but you're roughly a third through your meters drilled for the season. Do you maybe expect, in terms of assays, when did they hit the lab? What's the average lab turnaround these days? And maybe when might we expect first results?
Well, the thing is, when you're going out and you're drilling like 50,000 meters, call it, right? You can't come out and put out a hole here and a hole there. You've got to match these things, right? So I think we have a responsibility that, the way to organize this is on a monthly basis, put out some drill results. And I would think that, starting, and I've said this from the start, my guidance has been end of July would be the earliest, right? End of July being the earliest, and early August, and that's in line with what we did last year. And we start getting out some assays. And then every month, and depending upon the batching, maybe it's twice a month as we go into the fall, right? And I expect news within the next couple of weeks, and continuing to report through the winter into January, closing it out in February.
And that's what I loved. I mean, last year was just like a step after step, marching through the year of just strong number after strong number headlining it. And I gave you credit for this last time we spoke, and I will again. I mean, they're not all news releases are created equal in terms of assays and the way that companies represent their numbers. I always give Dolly Varden credit. You clearly give true widths. There's no smearing, and you release all data on all holes, right? So I mean, and that's again things to look for in terms of companies that you can trust or management you can trust, right? Maybe just final two questions here, just kind of in terms of, we have now nicely set out 6 month timeline of assays, just kind of like last year, which I think you got nicely rewarded for. But when might we see an updated mineral resource estimate? And then maybe, if you don't mind attaching to that, maybe how many meters of drilling aren't included in that at this moment?
So again, I'm not gonna hold us to this.
No, of course not. No.
Because exploration is, there's so many moving parts, and we may get onto something where, depending upon how it looks, they may not be compliant step outs, and is it the best use? We're not Newmont, right? So is it the best use of our dollars to put ounces on paper when we have a pretty good size resource? It's not like, we're not like some of these other companies out there that have monster valuations and have no resource. We have a nice fundamental resource that backfills our value. So is it the best use of our capital to step out and see how big the system is versus, pin cushioning the thing? But having said that, look, and to answer your question, second part of your question, we're going to have 100,000 meters of drilling since the last resource estimate. So, we may find ourselves in a position in, call it, April or early May, where we decide to publish a new updated resource estimate. And then I think what we may want to think about is taking that combined report of all, this whole 15-kilometer trend, the 7 deposits, and wrapping some economics around it in a PEA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's a fair point. I think a lot of different companies kind of come to the same conclusion. Why plant your flag in the ground when you still have so much prospective land left? You can be adding ounces and not go back to that 25 meter or 50 meter infill drilling, which you say that pin cushion, which might not be the best bang for your buck at this time in your kind of the life story of your company. So I think you've kind of come around to the end here with me then, Shawn. We talked about 2022 and what it did and how it was transformative. We talked about forward looking into 2023 about how there's still so much more story left to cover. We talked about kind of that short term 6 months in terms of drill results. Maybe, like you say, it's too much of a moving target to say with concrete confidence, but maybe 12 months from now, roughly speaking, see an MRE or PEA. Shawn, is there anything else that you want to talk about here before I let you go?
I just want to thank our shareholders. The reason the stock's done well, the reason we've been able to do anything is because of their support. And so I just wanted to thank all shareholders, and we're working really hard for you. We're strong, we're hungry, and we're going to keep going, and we're not going to stop.
Awesome. So there you go. There you have it, folks, right? Dolly Varden, high-grade gold, high-grade silver, Tier 1 jurisdiction, great management team. Shawn, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.